Sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC football. And hey, Trojan fan, did you know the Ralph's app gives you easy access to weekly sales and personalized coupons, and you can earn fuel points too? Check out the app today and save while you cheer us on to another great season. Ralph's proud partner of USC Athletics. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown, Keely Yore for this week's football roundtable. Stuck in the middle of the show here, and the Pac-12 is over, sort of. I mean, I guess there's a championship game, but there was lots of sad videos posted on the internet, and so it's pretty crazy that this era is over and the championship game is two Big Ten teams, technically, I guess, in Oregon and Washington coming up. But before I get into that game, I wanted to get your guys what was your surprise of the season? I was going back and watching some of our earlier shows from this year.
Oh, wow.
I was looking at a lot of the over-unders to see how right we were or wrong we were.
How bad was it, Jordan?
Well, one of the things that we all got wrong was we all said that there would not be an undefeated Pac-12 regular season champ.
Oh,
and
right.
For the
we
first
also
time
had the
ever.
bowl game over-under, or the ranked teams at the end of the year. I remember that one. Really?
What did we say for that? Do you know?
Over-under for that one was 6 ranked teams at the end of the year. I believe as of now there are 4.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure.
You said under.
I said under.
What did I say? Do you know?
You said under. I do have them all written down.
I think I was
you
alone.
said under. I think you said under also because you just were like, Max knows Pac-12. I'm going to stick with him.
Am I wrong?
Sean said over.
I remember that one because we're going to check the footage at the end of the season.
No, I got it all. I was
okay.
I can bring out the rest next week. But what surprised you this Pac-12 season?
The USC Trojans. Seriously, I mean, you go down the list. I was expecting us to be playing this Friday, and we came nowhere close to that. And I think we are the big surprise of this football season.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision. I thought Arizona. I mean, surprise. If we're talking teams, I think Arizona was Max.
Not a surprise to Max.
Max was on that. Max was on that early Arizona team. But Jeff Fish has done a great job, I think, creating something down there, and they're a team that has got the thing rolling in the right direction right now.
Maybe Arizona's defense, if we go more specific, but to go off of Max, maybe Caleb Williams' trajectory. I thought he'd pick up on where he left off, and I felt like it was a different version of Caleb Williams that we saw. Now, there are many variables to that, and I don't think that's maybe fair of me to say that, but I definitely was expecting more from, I guess, this USC offense this season.
Yeah, it sort of. I mean, ultimately, it's like a lot of the stats were there, and I just think when the wins and losses aren't there, that's the context that everything gets put in for sure. But they were there for Oregon and Washington. Those are the two teams to represent. The league didn't really cannibalize itself. I mean, I guess maybe that's the most surprising thing is that there never really was an upset the whole season. Oregon only had one loss. It was to Washington, and by whatever it was, a point or something like that in a great game. And Washington survived some close games. Oregon pretty much hammered everybody. So they separated. They're clearly the two best teams. Who's going to win the game?
I think Oregon this time around. I don't feel like Washington has been a strong enough opponent towards the end of the season. It just doesn't seem like that to me.
I feel like everyone's saying Oregon, so then by default, I lean Huskies in this. Oregon's clearly playing better, but
Oregon's a 9-point favorite last I saw.
Yeah, and I think the whole talking point of it's so hard to beat a team twice. Well, that applies when you're the favorite on the second time around. That's not the case. I get the sense that the Huskies are pissed off and they'll rally and get this one.
Yeah, I don't. 9 points seems like a lot, especially you watch Washington and they're in every game and then they make it tight, but they find a way to hang in there and pull out wins. So I wouldn't count them out in this one. I think 9 points sounds crazy to me.
I like Oregon big.
Ooh, big.
Big. Yeah, they've been hammering people, and Washington reminds me a little bit of USC last year. And to be honest, USC last year, probably could have won that Pac-12 championship game if Caleb Williams doesn't get hurt. But I don't think Washington has figured it all out yet in the way that Oregon has. Oregon is a complete football team. Washington, to me, feels like a work in progress that's kind of covered up by the fact they have a great quarterback and great receivers.
Yeah.
Margin of victory is not insignificant this weekend, too, because style points are going to be on the line with the chaos that could ensue if there's upsets, or even if there's not upsets of the, who is that fourth team in, third team in. And if it is a tight game, if it is down to the wire, if it is an overtime finish, there is a world where both two teams get in there.
Yeah, they'd have to have some real chaos. What's crazy is we talked about that there wasn't really cannibalization of the Pac-12. There wasn't really any in college football this year. This is one of the most chalk years that you'll ever see. And I actually think we were talking about this before. I think it's going to make the committee's job the hardest maybe it's ever been, because I think you're going to end up with, an undefeated team being compared to a one-loss team that you think the one-loss team is better, but are we really leaving undefeated teams out of a playoff now? I mean, that's a much more difficult thing than being like, hey, everyone's lost, so now we just get to pick based on who we think is good. It's hard to leave an undefeated team out. There is a world though where Florida State goes 13-0, but they don't have their best player, and they didn't really beat a whole lot of people. But you really gonna leave them at home?
Yeah, that's a tough call. I mean, I pulled from this weekend. I thought Michigan and Ohio State. I mean, just a two amazing teams going at it head to head, and that's something we got to look forward to. There's a lot of work that needs to go into USC football to start challenging for championships in the Big Ten. That was pretty eye opening for me.
Yeah.
And so often in college football, the past 6-8 years, it's been Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State sprinkled in there, and like that's it. And this season shows what hopefully the future of our game is, where, hey, in November, mid-November, there's 10, a dozen teams that legitimately look themselves in the locker room thinking we got a chance to make a run at this thing, which I think makes the game better. And with us heading to the Big Ten, that's certainly going to be the case because there's 18 teams in there vying for a championship. So hopefully it's a sign for more exciting football ahead.
And it's a good thing that the playoff is expanding. Last year, 4.
That's
because
the biggest thing.
Yeah. Now, because if you apply that scenario to next year, what you're just talking about, Jordan, I think it's a much easier scenario for the committee than right now.
All those teams are in, and then, there's a lot of other, people are battling for, a bye and home field advantage and those kind of things that are going to become a factor for sure. What are you going to miss? What are you going to miss most about the Pac-12? This is, we're done with it, and it has one more game, but what are you guys going to miss about the league?
You're talking to a Northwest dude, so I'm going to miss those rivalries. I mean, the Apple Cup's going to continue on, but the stakes will never be the same. We'll see what happens with the Civil War and just all the old school rivalries. Even it feels like Arizona State would always get up to play us. We're not going to play them in the near future. Utah and USC, we were a budding rivalry if we continued this for a decade, and that's no more. So I'm going to miss those rivalry matchups.
I think half and half, like half the grittiness and half like the meme culture, like the fact that there won't be like
after dark
Pac-12
and
after
Pac-12
dark
refs and all these things.
It was like it was there's so much tradition in this conference, but there's also so much silliness in this conference that I enjoyed over the course of however many years that the Pac-12 has been around, and I don't know, I'm gonna miss it. It's weird.
I think just West Coast football, I guess, the version of it that I played in when, it was pretty strong up and down the board, and then that's kind of going away. Obviously, we're, traveling with some teams to the Big Ten, but West Coast football, I guess, kind of taking a step down, I guess, and not being really a relevant thing when we have to travel across the country to play football, I guess.
Who's your Heisman pick?
Whoever wins Friday.
Really?
That quarterback will win the Heisman.
I want to say more. I don't know.
Voting already opened though, which is weird.
It's the worst thing. That's a joke. I'm sorry.
It is.
I would
ridiculous.
I think it's going to be Bo Nix. I think they're going to win on Friday, and I think it's going to be Bo Nix. I would like us to get to a point, though, and I feel like baseball is there, but a lot of the other sports are lagging behind, where we make decisions other than the quarterback on the best team.
Yeah.
Like wins and losses is just too heavily favored in an award that is given to the best player. And it leads to things like the guy ends up not being an NFL player at all. I mean, this is like, the Danny Werfels of the world and the Jason Whites. And, we've seen a million of these in college. And I get it. We want to reward winning and all that. But, it's they have found metrics in other sports where you're like, oh, win-loss record is not the most important thing in baseball anymore. But
luckily, this is a season where the quarterbacks on the most winning teams are playing at an elite level. The years where it was, I'll always remember the Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry year, where that was like the default Derrick Henry happened to have 20 rushing touchdowns. Like that year to me was more upsetting than the default quarterback Heisman get.
All right, well, enough of that. We're going to get back to hoops here in a little bit. Kobe Johnson is going to join us next. Monster Energy, the official energy drink of USC. Unleash the beast and fight on Trojans flying with ONT. Ontario International Airport is a proud sponsor of our USC Trojans. Visit SoCalSoEasy.com to book your journey through ONT today. Our guy Kobe, the captain of USC men's basketball, is next on Trojans Live. One final segment of Trojans Live on a Monday night. Our over-under is presented by Pechanga Resort Casino, proud partner of USC Athletics. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody, Max Brown, Keely Orr. It's been our pleasure. We had some great guests tonight. My over-under is inspired by one of them. Are you ready, Sean?
Yes.
Over-under 3,000 points for Juju Watkins in her
Ooh.
USC career. Let me give you some context since you have no idea the context of 3,000 as Max is again trying to
Calculator.
do the math here. Here's the context, Max. Cheryl Miller scored 3,018. She's the highest scorer in USC history. But her freshman year, she averaged 20.4. Juju's averaging 26 right now. So we are past pace, but we got a lot of games to go. Cheryl played 4 full years and won a lot of games and was very good doing it.
I'm going over. I think NIL plays a role in that too, where she'll stay.
No reason to leave.
No reason to leave. She'll stay long enough to get it done. And if she's played 5 games so far and already has 3 30-point games, that's unheard of in the women's game.
We all got to go over. Sorry, Keely, you're going
No,
over.
I am
No one's
going
going to go
over.
under here.
Trojans Live is a production of USC Sports Properties and Playfly Sports. Our executive producer is Drew DeHart. Our producer is Rick Cutler. Rick, who's back in the studio tonight? Herman Aguilera. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our crew. We got one more show to go this season. Follow along on our YouTube channel and hit us up on X anytime you want. Sean Cody, Max Brown, Keely, or I'm Jordan Moore. Fight on, everybody.